Are you tired of using all your time and money into getting After Effects? But when you open it, you don't know where to start? In this video, you will not only learn the basics of After Effects, but also how to make a good edit that you can upload to TikTok or YouTube, and finally go viral. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do to get started on your project is to click on New Composition. Here you see many settings that can be overwhelming, but we will only change on 3 of these settings. The first one is the composition resolution. The most popular res is 1080 x 1080. Set the frame rate to 60 FPS to get it as smooth as possible. The third setting we're going to change is how long our edit is going to be. I'm just going to set this to 60 seconds. Don't worry, we can change these settings later on if we want to. Now we can click on OK and move to the next step. So here we have our timeline. This is where we put our clips. Get your first clips that you want to use for your edits. I want to use some clips of Spider-Man. So I'm dragging them into After Effects. Next, we want to double-click the clip we want to use. Go to where you want your clip to start and click this little icon to set the part where our clip is going to start. Then go to the place you want the clip to end and click this other little icon. Now you can just drag the clip down to our composition. Click S to get up our scaling tool. Come down to the left and set the scaling up so there is no black bars at the top of our clip, like this. Click on the arrow and navigate down to the position tool. Drag the left position value until your character in the clip is in the middle. Now go forward until the clip changes camera angle, and split the clip by clicking Ctrl-Shift and D. And now again, adjust the position so the character is in the middle of the clip. Do this with all the different clips, like I'm doing here. When we have our clips, we want to add this head tracking effect that we can see in almost every edit on TikTok or YouTube Shorts. It gives the edit a little bit of spice, a little bit of spice, a little bit of spice, spice. Select the first clip and come over to the right where it says Tracker, Stabilize Motion. A little square should pop up in our preview section. Make the square a little bigger and set the square on the nose of the character in the clip. Come over to the right again, click on Options, and change the Adapt feature to Stop Tracking. Now you can click on the little arrow to make the tracking start. When the tracking is done, we can click on Apply. I chose only X on this clip, which means the tracking will only go horizontal. But if you want to have a full tracking effect vertically and horizontally, you can click on the X and Y. And here you can see the difference between X tracking and X and Y tracking. That was a example, but yeah, you get it, I think. When you've got your tracking, you have to come down to the right and enable these two settings, frame blending and motion blur. When this is done, you can continue the same procedure on all the clips you want head tracking. And I almost forgot, as you see here, some parts of the video are turning black because of the head tracking. We can easily fix this problem. Come to the right to Effects and Presets and search for Motion Tile. Put this on the clip and come up to Effect Controls. Set these two values to 200 and turn on Mirror Edges. Now if you play back again, you can see that the black bar is gone. The next thing we want to add is texting. There are two methods. I'm going to show both of them. I'm going to use a plugin that's called Deep Glow. The download link to this plugin will be in my Discord. The link to the Discord server is in the description. First off, we want to make a new texting layer. Come up to the top and click on the T symbol. Click on the middle of the screen to get up a new text layer. If the texting layer isn't over the other clips, come over to the right and drag it up so it's on top of every clip. Then you want to listen to what they are saying and type what they are saying. I like the font size around 30 to 40. Come down to the Align tab and click on the Align. Click on the Align to the middle, vertical and horizontal. Now you can split the clip and remove the before part. I have the two lines of text as separate layers. When you've timed the text layers, it's time to add the effects. We'll start by adding Deep Glow and Drop Shadow. To do this, we need to go to Effects and Presets. I'm sure you are all familiar with this process now. Search for Deep Glow and add it to our clip. Set the radius to 305 and the exposure to 0.35. Now add Drop Shadow and set the opacity to 100%, distance to 8, and the softness to 5. Now to make the text fade up smoothly, we want to add an effect called Slow Fade On. Put it on your text layer and click U to get up the keyframes. Drag the keyframes so the first keyframe is when they start talking, and the second is when they stop talking. To make it fade out, we add an effect called Fade Out Slow. Do the same thing, start at a few frames before they stop talking, and end it when you want. The length of the keyframes identifies how quick the animation is going to be. Now click Ctrl-D to duplicate the existing texting layer and drag it where the next part of talking is going to be. Change the text so it matches the clip and repeat the process until you have captions on every part of your video you want. When that is done, I like to keep it organized, mark all the text clips, and pre-compose them. Select all of them by holding Shift and click Ctrl-Shift-C to make a new pre-composed layer and copy these settings. And do the same thing to the intro clips. When this is done, we can move on to the next step, making the main clips of our character with cool zooms. Like this. I'm going to use two plugins here as well, Twixtor Pro and the Sapphire plugin, one for the smooth zooms and one for the slow motion. Now you can import your scene packs or whatever you want after the intro. I'm going to get scene packs from a legend called Ronan. His website will be linked in the description. When I've imported these clips, I want to mark the beats so I can time the clips to the beat. Come down to our audio, right-click, Keyframe Assistant, and convert audio to keyframes. Go up to the red layer that just popped up. Click on this little arrow, click on Effects, click on both, and go to Graph Editor. Go to where the main part of the song starts. As you can see, the beats are these spikes on the graph, so we want to mark them by hovering over them, coming over to the right, and clicking on the marker icon. Do this on every beat for about 20 to 25 beats. That, I think, is the sweet spot. When that's done, you can close out of the graph editor and delete the red layer. Now get in the clips that you want to use and time them with the beat, like I'm doing right here. Note that if the beat is repeating itself, you can get the clips to that part and repeat them. I am going to show you in a bit. Now that we got our clips timed, we want to pre-compose all the layers individually. Again, click Ctrl-Shift-C, and I like to name them 1, 2, 3, etc., so I know what number clip it is. Now we want to add Twixtor Pro to make some smooth slow motions. Search up Twixtor Pro and add it to our timeline. If you want my exact Twixtor settings, you can get them in the description. Now that you've got your Twixtor, come up to Effect Controls and copy my settings. Note that the frame rate should be the same as your clip. When you have got the settings right, go to the start of the clip and click on the clock next to the speed value and set it to 230. Set a new keyframe in the middle of the clip at 45 and another at the end back to 230. Now easy ease the keyframes. Mark the keyframes again and go to the graph editor. Now copy my graph. When you get the Twixtor on the first clip, you can hold Shift while you mark the keyframes. And while you still hold Shift-click on the Twixtor Pro up in Effect Controls so you don't have to repeat the settings over again for each clip. Now you can copy and paste the keyframes to every clip. To get the keyframes to match the clip length, hold Alt-key, hold and drag the keyframes while they are marked, and drag them so they match with the clip length. And when you copy the Twixtor onto another clip, you have to change the color source up in the Effect Controls to the clip you're on. Therefore, it's easier if you've named the clips. Now do this process on all the different clips. We're almost done. Hang in there. The penultimate step is to add zooms, search for blur mode curves, and add them to our clip. Set a keyframe at the start of the clip at 0.8 and set a keyframe at 1. Easy ease the keyframes and go to the graph editor. Copy my graphs. Now just copy the keyframes and use the Alt key method to make the keyframes fit the clip. Do this to all the clips. When you've done that to all your clips, you want to pre-compose all the main clips together, like we did with the intro earlier. You don't have to, but I like to do this to make it feel more organized. And if you got it, so you want to repeat the clips because the beat is repeating itself, you can just duplicate this main one and drag it so it repeats. When this is done, you want to add a text in the end with your username. This is the last step. Click Ctrl-Y to get up a new solid layer, set the color to white, and go around 10 to 20 frames back and split the clip. Go around 20 to 30 frames forward and split the clip there too. Click T to get up the opacity setting and set a keyframe when the clip understops at the start of the solid layer and at the end of the solid layer. Easy ease the keyframes. Leave the middle keyframe at 100% and the other two you can set at 0. Mark the keyframes and go to the graph editor where you can copy my graphs. Now, Go down to the audio layer, set a keyframe a few frames after the first keyframe on our solid layer, go forward to the middle keyframe, and set a keyframe where you go about 10 decibels down. There you have a clean transition. Now add a new text layer, write your username, set the font size to around 50 to 70, go to the Align tab, and align the layer to the middle of the screen like previously. Split the clip where the white layer's opacity is at 100%. First, I like to add deep glow, and use the same settings as on the text we used in the intro. You can just copy those settings and set the opacity keyframes on the text layer, so they are quite similar to the opacity keyframes on the solid layer. Here you set the first to 0 and the second to 100. Now take the text layer a few frames forward, easy ease them, and come forward to around 1 to 2 seconds, and set a new keyframe at 100, go forward a few frames more, and set a new opacity keyframe at 0. Go down to the audio keyframes again, and set new keyframes that are timed with the opacity keyframes on our texting layer. Set the second audio keyframe to -50. Now that we have done this, we know exactly how long our edit is. If you see under our preview, you can see how long your video is. Now that you know, go up to Composition and Composition Settings and change the composition length to the length of your video. Before we end, I just want to say that a good color correction can increase the overall quality on your edits tremendously. And it's essential to get a high quality edit. You can get my color correction for 40% off if you click the link in my description. Now, congratulations! You've now learned how to use After Effects properly and made your first edit. I hope, at least if I did everything right, if not, sue me. But without further ado, please like and subscribe if you learned something. Do it, and have a great day.